All right. Hello, everybody. This is my friend JAMIN Mason. He's a reparationist and a dear friend of mine, and he's here to tell you about reparations, Redemption Party, his move to Delaware, and what he's up to. So let's start out, JAMIN, with tell us about the Reparation Party and the work you do there.
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate this platform. I appreciate you giving me space to speak my mind, speak my truth to the masses. I am a bona fide reparationist out of Washington State. We actually got the first lineage based legislated actually into law through an appropriations bill. It's called the Charles Mitchell and George Washington Carver study. It's an appropriations bill. We got that passed in Washington State, specifying lineage based reparations, a study to be implemented specifically for the people who built this country with slave labor. I'm a reparationist. I've been working on that along with many other things over the last 4 years. We have a Redemption Party, a website based on our bedrock to reparations, which is Special Field Orders 15, January 16th, 1865. William Tecumseh Sherman, after defeating the Confederate Army, came together with 20 Negro pastors. They wrote Special Field Orders 15, which is the bedrock of our claim for reparations. Reparations is definitely my thing. I've been doing it hardcore for 4 years, and I gotta say, before this introduction's over, hey, this is not a normal Jamin Mason look. Hey, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. I am in Wilmington, Delaware, and it's cold outside.
You spent the last 4 years working in Washington State. You just made a big move to Delaware. You want to tell us about that?
We were our people, the American Negro, Black American, freedmen, however you choose to self identify. Our people are 13% of the constituency there in Washington State. I moved to Wilmington, Delaware on the Black state majority ideology. I'm not the only one that's moved here with these plans to politically using civic duties, taking over the system. I'm going to run for elected official out here. That's what we're doing. We're moving as a collective to teach our people, educate. Of course, we're 53% of the constituency here, which gives me a lot more opportunity than the 13% I had there. In Washington, there was about 7 of us that were like myself, just diehards. Shout out to AR 1870. American Renewal 1870 is an amazing group that I have joined myself and am doing a lot of work with. But, we want to educate and uplift our people and show them, hey, if I can do this in a wheelchair, so can you. And it's time for Americans to stand up for America. If there's ever been a time, the time is now.
Now you're going to be running on the Redemption Party. You want to tell us about the Redemption Party?
The Redemption Party is founded by a dear friend of mine, activist, hell of a amazing woman, wife, and leader. She truly has showed me a lot. Her name is Dr. Ashaki Nichols. She is the founder of the Redemption Party. There are actually sitting elected officials, I believe, on the city council. I want to say Indiana is where they're at. We have sitting elected officials right now doing the bids of the Redemption Party. Now, there is a clause to signing on to the Redemption Party, but Americans first. And that being said, chronologically, the American Negro is up to bat for Special Field Orders 15. So you sign on in support of this American first ideology, and then everything else, it's Americans first all the way through.
You mentioned something about a wheelchair. Now, I know that you have a disability and you want to run for political office. And one of the things you want to discuss when you're in political power is something about that fix of how we treat people with disabilities. Because you had a rough time when you first got there, didn't you?
Thank you for bringing that up. In the airport, being in a wheelchair, electronic scooter is what I'm actually And thank goodness it was able to be fixed and I'm back in it so I can be mobile. Having to articulate myself, or the person that I got for help didn't speak good English. And I understand that there's barriers for a person in my position. Having a language barrier on top of that really complicates things. A urinal got built on my property, and so I'm super sensitive to any bodily fluids or anything like that. And so I pretty much blew a gasket in a way and ended up getting stuck on the toilet, and just literally I had an MS, kind of a flare up, and ended up falling, hit my head. It was a crazy scenario, but it was all due to the circumstances that I had to go through in this airport, whether it was language barriers or ADA accessibility options that weren't there. They weren't, it's a big difference between Washington State, where, is very liberal, very open to people with disabilities. And you've come out here, and I saw real quick, you ain't in Kansas no more. Actually trying to bring a class action lawsuit up about that, because I believe that all 50 states should represent ADA and people with disabilities in the same fashion. If the bar is at this level in Washington State, guess what? You should be able to go to Wilmington, Delaware, and expect that same kind of treatment, that same kind of care, love. And so, like I said, we're working up a class action lawsuit. I was a huge disability rights advocate, worked with Empower Movement in Washington State. And so I have some really good allies and supporters across the country that are willing to jump on this fight, because they understand, like I do, if you see an ADA sticker, you you should expect that same kind of care across the country. You shouldn't, when you see that ADA sticker, you should expect, like I did and found out real quick, you mess around and find out here, yeah, they don't play, and they don't, you could definitely see that empathy is not a thing that they have much of. And if you are the least of these, they treat you like that. So yeah, I'm definitely pushing that. That's the bigger picture, a class action lawsuit for people like myself.
And so you want to run for political office and get some power. Tell us about that.
The ideology is the black state majority ideology. That's a book. That's an actual book written by a friend of mine, actually, a dear friend of mine. Is black state majority kind of picture, 5-year plan. We all come here, 300 of us get here, just like myself, in wheelchairs or standing upright or however you stand, we get here, we build that coalition, we educate the people around us, we show them we show them with our actions rather than with our words how to actually implement these things and really make the government work for us as it's supposed to do. That's kind of the bigger picture with the 5-10 year, we haven't locked this in yet, but a 5 to 10 year goal of getting someone in the governor's seat. You see, until you have someone in power that thinks like us, not an Obama, not a I'm sorry, but Obama, in my opinion, not someone that does everyone else's biddings except American. I believe you need someone from this soil. I've done my genealogy. I don't show, our people don't come from Africa. Our people don't. Not saying that Africans weren't amalgamated into our people. The genealogist that did my paperwork, she showed me. She showed me in 1596, her people, her great 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 grandfather jumping the, or great 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 grandparents jumping the broom, right? So they had these written archives of their people. So in 1619, if all of us were brought here to America, then how did that happen, y'all? No, that was a lie. We've been indoctrinated, and that is what I'm here to prove. Our people have been here. We are indigenous to the Americas, period. Christopher Columbus didn't find shit. And like the brother Malcolm X said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. That's a reality that I never knew until I did my genealogy and saw my genealogist show me paperwork on something, man, I learned in junior high. I think from the movie Roots. I believe I remember watching that movie and supposedly learning that we got here in 16. No, that's all bullshit. We, as Black Americans, the American Negroes, freedmen, we are here to say we're not standing for that anymore. We're standing on our truths. We're telling our truths, and we're not letting anyone else tell a story besides the truth that we know. And that on my grandma's side, she always said, baby, we was never no slaves. Well, we weren't on my grandma's side. That was Cherokee Indian. That's a part of my blood. But on my grandfather's side, and if this ain't an American Negro name, I don't know what is. Walter Spurgeon Mason was my grandfather's name, and he came from a family of six boys and girls. Aunt Sarah was the only girl, and I found out so much from that walk. And I encourage everyone to look back on who you are. Because the whole time, if I didn't do my genealogy, I would have never known that I was an actual descendant of United States sanctioned chattel slavery. Period. Which was crazy.
So you're saying that you're indigenous to this land?
I believe I am, brother. I believe our people are. Now I haven't went. I made it to 18. I believe my records go to 1836 is as far back that I know. I believe that they lied to us all. Now I haven't been back far enough. I can't stand on the amazing hill that my sister Chitachi from Sister Chitachi who helped walk me through, Keo and Chitachi. Both of them helped me walk through. I know Keo was the one that really walked me through the situation, but the sister that I had first went through, she showed me her paperwork goes back to the 1500s. They didn't have pictures and stuff like that back then, but they're written logs of who they are, the people that have been there. They've been in South Carolina, but at least 1596. What does that say to you, Brother TC? What do you think of that?
I think that's new information for me, and it's interesting to find out these things, because like what you're saying, what I'm learning is they've lied to us about a lot of stuff. I want to see you and all the indigenous people come together.
I had no idea until she showed me. You could tell just on what it was, the paper that it was written on. You could tell it was not no made up nothing. It was a log of their family, and when people jumped the broom, 1896, brother. That's 25 something years before the supposed ship that brought us all here even came. No, that's all horse shit, brother.
You got your people right there with you.
Our people are the people that support us. You are my people. Anyone that would scratch my back just like I would scratch his if the roles was reversed, those are my people. Don't ever think there's a wedge between us. You're my brother. Period. Without a doubt. Our skin tones are different, but you are my kindred brother. Period. So don't ever think nothing like that. I need to stand up for people that have never been stood up for. Always been pushed to the back of the bus, brother. That our time is now. You were like a beacon of light to me. As soon as I saw you, I said, oh yeah, that ain't. Normally I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you as being a reparationist for the last four. Well, you met me when I wasn't even a reparationist yet. I was still for all people. I mean,
Right.
I still, don't get it twisted. I still am for all people, and I'm against all oppressors. But I also think that chronologically speaking, we're next up to bat, and we've never been taken care of. As Americans, let's do this together, right? Today, I stand on a different square. 4 years ago, I was pushing Medicare for all, disability right, prisoners right, being an old knucklehead myself. You can't tell from the Russian attire. Right? I have always fought against the system, but until the George Floyd protest in Seattle in 2020, I couldn't make it, but my whole church did. And my little nephew and his dad, they went there to meet up with the church. They were across the road. Well, if you look it up, Josiah is my little cousin's name. He got sprayed in the face by a grown man. He was 7 years old. Got sprayed directly in the face when his 6'2" dad was standing right next to him. Why wouldn't you spray his dad? Why would you spray the baby in the face? And so because of all that anger, and after all the, I had just done Medicare for All, a big rally, and I was so angry because still, even sitting in this wheelchair, brother, they smacking our people in the mouth intentionally, and they're hurting babies, right? And so I just, you know what? I threw everything else off. Not that I don't care, not that I became heartless, none of that. I did it because the people who have always been hurt in America are the people who built the blueprint to this whole country. We were the financiers of this country. Without our slave labor, we could have never seceded from the British crown. We would have never had the wicks in the candles to say, oneth by land, twoeth by sea, if it wasn't for our slave labor. It couldn't have happened, which means we wouldn't, without our economic stimulus to this country and being able to buy all of those guns and ammunitions and all of those things to protect America, if it wasn't for our slave labor, we could have never seceded from the crown. We could have never been anything but the 13th colony. That's what I'm saying, brother. And until Americans across the board agree, understand, and stand firmly behind that, America can never be great. It can never be great. So let's make America great for the first time ever.
Well, let's make it whole, and let's make it work for all of us.
You can follow me anyway. I don't know if it's going to be, I hope it's not. I got a campaign team and all these people pulling for me and working with me to make it happen. I hope it's just a little city hall, maybe dog catcher. Maybe they'll give me a nice little scooter, a souped up scooter. I don't see myself going Congress or Senate. And really, I've always hated elected officials. Really, I've always hated political people who sit in political power because they always shit on we the people. But that's what we need to. That's what all people need to take, especially if you're sitting down with a disability like myself. What else do we got to do, y'all? I mean, you can sit there and wither away if you want to, but why not fight like hell? Why not fight like hell until you can't, right? That was my thought, and I encourage all of us to do it until we, the people, stand up. These people in that 1%, they're going to continue squeezing blood from turnips. That's it. Why? Because that's all they know how to do. They're oligarchic. That's the point. Ain't that right, TC?
I'm remembering when I first saw you, I saw the live, and we were you were common and friends, and so I didn't even have any idea that you had a disability. You were so positive and so full of life and vigor and just showing up big. And I think that you're a good spokesperson for people with disabilities, how they can still continue to have a good life if they choose it.
If living is worth living, I want to take every moment that I can to be the fighter that I will always be and have always been. I used to do it from, standing on the back of my heels, but today I can't do that. So I do that with my mouthpiece, the way I articulate, and the circumstances that many Americans have seen, but just don't have the time to think about. They keep us so busy working and paying bills and confused, paying rent, paying this, paying that. They keep us so twisted that we can't say, damn, what's going on with old Susie down the street? Why are they coming over to our house at 5 in the, well, probably because there's something bad going on. But you don't got time to think about that because you got to work in the morning. It's by design, brother TC, and it's working brilliantly. These bastards have literally pulled the wool over America's eyes, and until people like you and I say it out loud, no one's going to get it.
Well, they may never get it, but they will learn to live differently because we're going to have to. I was watching this man talk about 2026, and he's saying that it's a year of transformation, and we'll either get it, or if we don't, we're going to go extinct. So let's get it.
You sure right, because if not,
Make
we
the
hey,
change.
we had heading to hell in a handbasket. We don't do it if we don't figure it out. For more information, you can find that Negro Jamming is my handle on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of the social platforms you can find me on. But my real name, most high given name, is Jamin Mason. Again, that Negro Jammin' is my tag name, but I encourage you to look up www.americanunionreparations.com. That is where all the information for Special Field Orders 15 can be found. All the intricate details of what we are owed and why and how that will help all Americans today can be found at that website. I'm also a huge advocate for disability rights. As a person dealing with multiple sclerosis, I work with Empower Movement out of Washington State, about to be national and have its first cohort in Wilmington, Delaware, where I'm at, to uplift our people across the country. You can also find me working with Washington Equity Now Alliance, which is a Washington State based group, and the Most High is smiling on us. I have a Cash App, of course. You need money to do these things and be a vigilant fighter for the people. You know, I have a dot card which has all my social media platforms, and so please reach out. Again, that Negro Jammin' is the stage name. Jamin Mason is my God given name. And Brother TC, I appreciate you so much for setting up this awesome meeting of the minds to get the truth out there so the people can hear. And I'll land right there. Thank you, brother.
Shout out to Stay Bridge, Suites 4, setting the stage, Wilmington, Delaware, downtown.